Okay, this is just a short video on how to configure your machine so that two virtual machines can talk to each other. Now, I'm assuming that you've already installed the desktop version of Ubuntu. There's a step-by-step guide in supplemental materials. I mean, just basically follow the script. You know, the first one, of course, is download the correct version. You know, we're after the desktop version of the 24 LST version. And, you know, same old, just create the thing like we've always done. Only tweaks I put in there is I added a little more memory and boot the USB up to 3. During the install, you know, here's all the choices that I did. And then afterwards, there's an opportunity for you to like pin some things to the little sidebar thing, you know, the dashboard. And so, assuming you followed all that, then I now need to talk about how to configure the whole scenario so that the two machines to work. So right now, VirtualBox is very cool in that this virtual machine can reach out to the internet, but it cannot see any other machines on the network. And so if you have two of them, both of them can go out, but they can't see each other. We need to fix that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go to the VirtualBox Manager, and we have to create what's called a NAT network. And so I'm going to go here to File, Tools, Network Manager. And so there's some things here about host onlys and all that. I don't care about that. I want to go directly to the NAT Network section and hit Create. And it just created one with a name called NAT Network, and that's fine. You know, I'm happy with that. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is to go to each one of our configured machines and change it to use this new NAT network. So I'm going to go to my server guy. I'm going to go to Settings. I'm going to go down to Network and change it from NAT to NAT Network. And it already picked the correct one. So cool. Then we're going to go to the desktop guy, which I assume you just created, and go to here and go down here to Network and change this from NAT to NAT Network, and kadoom. Okay, so now we've created a NAT network and we've applied it to the existing Ubuntu server and desktop thing. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to have to make some tweaks to each one of these machines, because normally what would happen is you'd have a DNS server so that you could ask for a machine, give me server 1, and it would go find out what the IP address is. I don't want to make things complicated, so we're not going to use a DNS server. Instead, we're going to edit what's called a host file, and we have to edit it on both machines. So I'm just going to fire up one of these guys. Okay, before we get started in this process, I need some information from both machines now that I've booted them up after I made that NAT network change. So I'm on the server, so I want to know the honest-to-God real machine name and the honest-to-God real IP address. So I'm going to just type uname -n just to make sure. I mean, this is the honest-to-God official thing. So, I'm going to write that down. Okay, I got server 1 here. So server 1. And then I'm going to get the IP address. Now, I can actually see it on the screen over here, but I'm going to go ahead and do the ifconfig guy. Remember, ifconfig is not loaded by default. It's under Net Tools. And so I know that server 1 is 10.0.2.4. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to switch over to the other guy. Hang on a second. Here we go. All right, so I've got a terminal popped open. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to type uname -n, and sure enough, it's called desktop 1, so I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to get again, remember ifconfig is not installed by default. And so I am 15. So 10.0.2.15. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to edit a config file on both of these machines, because normally what would happen is if I tried to talk to another machine, we'd use a DNS server. Well, I don't want to set up one. It's too complicated. It just makes more sense for us to not do that and use the host file instead. So I'm going to switch back to the server. Okay, so on the server, I'm going to make sure I got focus here because I'm switching back between machines. All right, so we're going to edit a host file. So I'm just going to go to the etc directory and do a -al on host. And sure enough, it's obviously going to need root. So I'm going to do sudo vi host. Whoops. Okay, cool. Okay, so on this machine, what I need to do is add a couple of entries. One of the entries I need to do is up here at the top on the loopback adapter where it says server 1. I'm also going to put a space and put in a fake domain name for my guy. server1.cis4335.local. Now I know that is a fake. It's fake. I mean, there is no such domain called that. And then down here, I'm going to add 2 entries. One for the current machine, so 10.0.2.4, and then a tab, and I'm going to do the same thing over again. Server1 space server1.cis4335.local, and then down here I'm going to put in the other one, which is 215 tab, and it is desktop 1. Space. desktop1.cis4335.local. Okay, so I made 3 changes. I added the fake domain name on the second line, and I added 2 more lines at the bottom to serve as a substitute for a DNS server. So I'm going to go ahead and just close that guy down. Now, right now, I should be able to ping from one to the other. I should be able to do ping desktop. And yep, it's working, hooray! And I should be able to also do it on the fully qualified domain name, CIS4335.local. And yay, it works. Okay, so we've configured it now. Obviously, you're going to have to go to the desktop machine and do the exact same thing. Go to edit the host file, take a change on line 2, and then add the other 2 lines. Okay, so after you've done that, then you're able to pass data back and forth between the machines because they now know how to get to each other. Okay, is that kind of making sense? All right, I think that's probably enough, and I'll see you guys in the next video.